Today I'm going to be installing some new tail lights on my Tesla Model Y long range, and so I got this from a company called Taillights. Everything will be linked down in the description with my discount code, so you guys can get 25% off. These come out to around $350 with the discount code and free shipping. So if you guys are interested, definitely check out the bio, but let's go ahead and get into the install. So I will go ahead and say that this is definitely not a beginner friendly installation by any means. If you have no experience taking panels off of your Tesla, or really just adding any other accessories in general, this is going to be a pretty challenging install, but it's definitely more than possible. Now, I definitely love the aggressive look on these tail lights. Unboxing them here, they came all completely wrapped so they wouldn't get damaged during shipping, and I love all the little details on there. But as for the actual installation, you're going to start off by taking most of the panels out of the trunk, just so you have free access to all the different wiring, and also to be able to unscrew the tail lights that are already on the car. So definitely take your time with this process. You don't want to break any clips and end up having to buy some new ones, and you should expect to spend at least 5 to 6 hours during this installation, especially if you're by yourself. So it definitely helps if you have some trim tools and you're able to get behind those panels and remove some of those clips. And as you can see, I got this first panel off here, and so this is one of the bigger ones. You have access to everything back there, and you can see why Teslas have some of the best audio systems out there with those huge speakers in the back. So you do want to take those little pieces off from above the tail light where the tailgate closes, and then when you are taking the actual tail lights off, be very careful with the little fins on the side, because those can break off easy. So you just want to pull straight out, of course, after you unscrew the little bolts holding the tail light in place. Also keep in mind there is a clip there as well, so it does require some force. Afterwards, you can go ahead and start removing the trim off of the tailgate, so you can have access to all of the wires up there. Also, big shout out to my friend Ishmael for helping me with this process. It would have taken me a lot longer to do it by myself, and he was really good at removing all these panels without breaking clips. So if you have a friend to help you, you're definitely going to need it. Definitely make sure you are prying as gently as possible. If you do need to use some force in certain areas to actually get that clip to disengage, but there is also a wire on the back of the tailgate panel, so make sure you don't just pull on it and you disconnect that first. Afterwards, you'll have access to be able to actually unscrew the tail lights and disconnect the clip from them, and you can use a little pry bar to go in between the tail light right here, as you can see, and pull that off. So you do that on both sides, and you can remove all of the tail lights off of your Model Y or 3, and then you can go ahead and start installing the new ones. The new tail lights should fit right in place, and you do have to go ahead and wire those wires through the little hole in the back right there, as you can see, so you can actually connect it to the car. But installing them wasn't too bad. The hardest part was definitely wiring everything to make it look clean and OEM. Make sure you are careful when you're installing the new tail lights, so you don't have any issues with that fin breaking on the side right there, but you should be able to just plug that in into the existing connector. And then as for the ones that are on the top of the tailgate, you might need an adapter, which is included in the kit, so you don't have to worry about buying one, but it really does depend on your model. In my case, we ended up using an adapter that we didn't need, which you'll be able to hear right now.
This one, it was the one that was connected through here, right? So this is what we were missing out. So this originally came in like that, right? Yeah. And then we were like, okay, now this is what I took off.
So we didn't need that?
No.
Oh,
so
okay.
This is what I just connected. Same thing over here. Since we used that plug and then just connected it.
So as you guys can see, in my case, I have a 2024 Model Y long range, and that was the connector that I needed to go ahead and install these taillights. So once everything was plugged in, they did actually start working. And you do want to make sure to check the turn signals and your hazards and reverse lights, just to make sure everything is working properly before you go ahead and start rewiring everything to make it look clean. In my case, everything was working completely fine, so I had no issues with my hazards or my left and right turn signals not working. So huge thumbs up to Taillights for that. You can see the reverse lights right here, but as for the rewiring, this is definitely the part that takes the longest, because you have to avoid clips along the way, and you do have to run the wires through some of those panels. So right here I was running it through kind of like the top of the tailgate, and this is the hardest part right here, is this little tube. You could go ahead and cut it in half if you just wanted to take a lot less time in doing this, but I wanted it to look OEM and I didn't want to have to glue it back together, so I did have to end up taking a lot of time to go ahead and get those wires through that tube, which probably took around an hour to get both of them because there is already quite a few wires in there, so adding 2 more in there is not easy, but I was able to eventually do it, and that's definitely the part that is going to take the longest amount of time for most people during this installation. After you have everything wired, you can go ahead and start putting those panels back on, and hopefully you didn't break any of those clips, but if you did break 1 or 2, it should still be fine and you won't hear any rattling when you do put them back on. And you could also buy the clips from Tesla or some other online store, but I absolutely love the way these taillights turned out. They look amazing at night, they're super bright, and I do like the X. At first I wasn't a huge fan of it before I actually installed them, but after I installed them I really like the way it turned out. It has an entire startup animation, and you can see that with the left and right turn signal, it does kind of flare that brake light before using the actual signal itself. I'm overall super happy with the way these taillights turned out, and if you guys have any questions, feel free to leave it down below. And as always, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day or night, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out.